أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام أشرف المرسلين وخاتم النبيين أحمد مجتبى أبي قاسمي محمد مصطفى وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا عبد الله يا رحمة الله واسيا ويا بابا نجاة الأمة فليتنا كما معكم سادتي فنفوذا فوذا عظيم إنا لله وإنا عليه راجعون صلوات الله. Why are you so angry? It's not necessary to be this angry. You should control your anger. This is not healthy to be this upset about something and show this much anger. We are told to control our anger in Islam and not allow our anger to overpower our intellect or our thought. Because when we allow ourselves to get too angry, it is though that a person becomes unaware of their actions. Example, if you ever seen someone who becomes angry, it is almost like they have reached the level of insanity. Sometimes these people that when they become angry, they do things, and once the anger goes down, they realize they have hurt someone. So we realize that a lot of people have been hurt. A lot of people have been killed. A lot of wars has been fought. A lot of wars will be fought because of anger. Because anger is something in which when a person, he or she gets to that point, all they see is blood, and all they want to do is attack. We're told from an Islamic perspective that we must control our anger. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with anger, because Allah He has placed in us anger as a mechanism that if someone will try to get over on you, it would like a defense for yourself. So it's sometimes in which you may have to get angry, but not to the point that you may hurt somebody and then realize later that you have done it. This is why Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that anger is the keys to all evil. That if you are not aware of the anger in which you are possessing or how you may act when you get this anger, that you should always be conscious of not getting angry to that extent that you may hurt someone. Because many times people hurt people because of their anger. You see it all the time. I've seen people in the masjid fight amongst each other over anger. I've seen people in the street fight amongst each other because of anger. Anger can turn people who love one another into enemies. This is why we are told to control our anger and not to allow ourselves to reach that. One time a Bedouin man, he came to the Prophet of Allah and he asked for some advice. He said, "Oh, Prophet of Allah, give me some advice." Rasulullah, he said, "Do not become angry." Then he said, "What else?" "Do not become angry." And he said, "What else?" "Do not become angry." So here it is, he put an emphasis on not to become angry, because on how the reaction a person may get when they become angered. We do not have reason. Now we know that one of the things in which Allah has given us is this aql, this reasoning. That anything that affects one's reasoning, that is best for us to avoid. So when you get angry, it messes with your akal, your reason. So you no longer reason. Is that when you start to get angry, your eyes start to red, they start to puff, you start to get red in the face, and they said this is when the shaitan, he goes through your blood. And it makes it more that he excites you even more to the fact that you want to go out and hurt. You want to go out and hurt. When you look at all these places in which people have killed one another, it is out of anger. You never heard a person say, this people was killed because of love. It is almost like when you have two tribes and they hate each other and they don't know why they hate each other. But for 100 years, they had anger against one another. And then when you look at what really happened, they said, oh, about 100 years ago, that one tribe member was with another tribe member and they was drinking tea, and by mistake, he kicked over the tea and he got wet by the tea. And ever since then, we hated each other. We had an anger for one another. So that tells you sometimes it's just not that serious to be that angry. Prophet Isa was asked, of course, by his disciples. They said, oh, preacher of good, because they always call him the preacher of good. Inform us, what is the hardest thing? He said the hardest thing is Allah's anger. He said, well, how do you get Allah's anger? They said by becoming angry. Or having anger. About having anger. How do we do this? He said through selfishness and insulting one another. So we find that we do things that hurt one another. So anger start coming upon each other. We are not, in other words, how can I say, considerate one another. We don't think of one another in a way that, oh, how I can hurt this person if I do this. No, we just say things and don't think of the consequence. We get this person angered, and then next thing you know, that breaks up families, it breaks up friendships, it breaks up communities. The hatred starts because of this anger. But if we are conscious and we deal with people in a way that you want them to deal with you, you will never get your brother angry, never get your sister angry. And if you do get angry, you will not want to hurt one another, because you say to yourself, oh, I would not want to hurt this person because I myself would not want to be hurt. So when we get angry, we allow ourselves to be the victim of circumstances. So what do? Do we continue to become angry? Do we allow ourselves to become angry or angered? Do we look at anger as a sickness or illness of the heart? It can be. Because you see that people, you say, oh, I have anger issues. People do not want to be around me because I anger so easily. I become angry so easily. I push people away because of my anger. I hurt my wife because of my anger. I hurt my mother because of the anger. I hurt everybody around me because of the anger, because I do not know how to control my anger. But as believers, we are told that we must control our anger. People around us get hurt when we don't control our anger. And this is a big problem if we don't do that. Sheikh now. So Imam, so we look at how anger corrupts things. And we see that anger corrupts people's faith. We never look at it in that way, how one that becomes angry, how it corrupts their faith. In a hadith from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that anger corrupts faith in the same way vinegar destroys honey. If you place vinegar in honey, it destroys it. It's no longer good. He said this is what happens to the faith with anger. It destroys your faith. We never think about this. We just constantly become angered. And we don't care. We have to be more like how Malik ibn al-Ashkar. Remember the story with him? That it said one time he was shopping and someone came up to him and threw something in his face. He turned around, he walked off. The person said, do you know who this person that you just did this to? He said, no, I don't know. He said, this is the general of Imam Ali. The guy, he started to say, what? He started to chase after him. So when he finally saw Malik come out the masjid, he said, oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. He said, I forgave you already, but I went to pray to Allah Azza for him to forgive you. We see another incident like this happen that one time with Imam Ali alayhi salam, he was the Khalifa, and he used to frequent the souk. And one time he saw a little girl that was a slave girl that had bought something for her master. And when she took it back to her master did not like what she had bought. So she went to the man to try to get that return, and the man refused. So Imam Ali alayhi salam happened to be in the souk at that time. And he said, oh, how can you not help her? She has no control over her own self. She is a slave, and her master is not happy with the things in which she had bought. Please give her back her money. In the anger of the man, what he did, he went up to Imam Ali and pushed him. He pushed him. Of course, people around him was like, what are you doing? Do you know who this is? They said, this is Imam Ali, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Khalifa. He said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, please forgive me. Please forgive me. He said, I will not forgive you till you correct your akhlaq. So we see that his anger can be a bad akhlaq or bad morals. But of course, if you notice that a person that is angered and when they strike, when they realize what they have done, then all of a sudden now they are sorry. But if you had control yourself and use that aql in which Allah has given the human being, then you would not have hurt anyone else. You will say, no, I will relax. I will not jump and act like an animal. Because animals, what they do, they strike. Human beings must use their aql and think before they attack. And say, no, this is not correct. Let me calm myself down. This is why in Islam they tell you when you are angry, if you are standing up, you should sit down. If you are sitting down, you should stand up. If all that don't work, they tell you to make wudu. They said when you have a disagreement with a family member and become angered, go towards a family member and touch them. It will cool you down. So here it is, not that Islam is just telling you not to do something. It's also giving you the remedy, the formula, if you so happen to get in that state, what to do. Even it tells you that if you're not able to do none of those things, walk away. What happened is that when we become angered, we don't walk away. We want to state our point. We don't want that person to be right and we be wrong. We see the blood or the red like how the bull sees, and we just want to attack that person. This is how we think. We don't think of the effect that anger will bring upon not only ourselves, but also that person. That how this anger hurts our belief, it hurts our iman. It spoils it, like Rasulullah said, like how the vinegar spoils the honey. And we know that once you put that honey in that vinegar in that honey, you can no longer use that honey. No longer. You cannot cipher out the honey, the vinegar no more. It's ruined. One of the things in which we do not want to do is affect our iman. We want to keep our iman intact, so we have to make sure that we control our anger and not to become angry, not to take things so serious when we could just walk off and say, MashaAllah. It reminds me of a funny joke. It said a man went to another man. He said, I have never been in an argument. He said, I don't believe that. He said, you're right. He said, you're right. Just that easy. He never got in an argument because soon as somebody said you ain't never been, he said, you right. Us, on the other hand, we sit there and argue with the person until we prove that we right, until one of us get upset. No, you don't know me. I've never been on. No, you never been on. Next thing you know, people become angry, become foes. So what's the problem with us? What is wrong with us? The problem is that we're not taking time to purify ourselves. We're not taking the time out to sometimes just listen and just learn to ignore. We're not trying to take the time out that not everything it deserves a response. But the things that do, we should respond accordingly and not allow ourselves to become angered. Not at all. Salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, he said that the true believer is such that when he gets angry, his anger does not take away from that which is right. It does not take away from that which is right. And when he is happy, his happiness does not lead him to commit anything wrong. And when he is overpowered in any way, he does not take hold of more than is lawfully his. See that? The true believer, that when he gets angered, his anger does not take away from his which is right. A lot of times when people get angry, they forget about what's right or wrong. That goes out the window. The right and wrong goes out the window. Now, this is just about proving a point. That person in which we might be angry with might be correct. Maybe. It's possible. Possible. You just never know. So he says, so whoever restrains his anger, Allah covers up his flaws and his shameless deeds. SubhanAllah. This is from the same Imam. That whoever restrains his anger, Allah covers up his flaws and his shameless deeds. SubhanAllah. Ain't nobody in here masoom. We strive every day, and it's like a roller coaster. We up and down, twisted turns. One day we the most religious in the world, the next minute we are at the low, and everything in between. So here it is. He said that if we restrain our anger, Allah will cover our flaws. To cover our flaws. No one wants their flaws to be known by anybody. Allah will cover them. And our shameful deeds. Then he go on another hadith in which how the Imam, he explains how the shaitan, as I said, he enters in the veins of the person. But here it is the Imam, he really explains how we are affected when we become angered. He said this anger is a spark from the shaitan that lights up in the heart of the children of Adam. It sparks. We see how when we light a fire, how it sparks. That's how when we get angry, it sparks something in us. We're ready to attack like immediately. Then he goes on, he says, Imam goes on and says, whenever any of you become angry, his eyes turn red. We see that. His veins puff up, and the shaitan enters them, like I said, enters into it. If any of you fear this, he must hold the earth. He must hold the earth. What do we mean by hold the earth? Sit down. Hold the earth. In doing so, the evil shaitan will go away. Even if a person has to go and sit in a corner somewhere, to calm him or herself down, you must do this. You must find this way to do this. You have to do this. Because if not, you will find yourself transgression against a believer, against a non-believer, against a human, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you call it. whatever you want to call it. Here's something in which Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, he said about this, about Prophet Musa. And he said that Prophet Musa addressed Allah Azza wa Jalla. He said, saying, "O Allah, who are your special people, whom you will shade with the shade of your throne on a day when no shade avails except your shade." So Allah revealed to him, and those who are angered when the things that I have prohibited are deemed lawful by people, the way a leopard is angered when it is wounded. So this is different now. Here it is. If someone has done something against Allah, then we anger. Now this is a different type of anger. When we think about what had happened to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, this is an anger that should be, how can I say, expressed. When a tyrant goes and takes something from you, this is an anger in which you should express. This is an anger or outrage that you want to speak out against what had happened to you and those people. So when we start to become angry and talk about what had happened to Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his family and those that was left behind. Now this anger is an anger in which we see that it was an atrocity that happened towards the family of Rasulullah, and how we love Rasulullah, how he said that all he asked for us is to be kind to his family. So when we see people that are not kind to his family, we become angered because we are those who are kind to his family. When we think about how people like Shimmer, how he stood over the imam and how he used a blade and cut his throat. Yes, we cannot just say, oh, let's just not think about it. No, we get angered about that because that is an atrocity against the son of Rasulullah. When we think about what had happened once all the men was martyred on the plains of Karbala, and you see that they go towards the tents and they burn the tents, snatch earrings out the children's ear, slap children, take their hijabs off their head to people that might have never had their hijabs off in front of people. How would we feel? Yes, we should be angered about that. When someone goes against what Allah has made permissible, yes, we angry about that. We angry about those personalities in which we must follow that has been hurt by the enemy. Yes, we should be angry about that. But when it comes down to being angry at one another over something in which that was minute, we should control our anger. Control ourselves. This is what we should do. This is something which we should do. This is why the Prophet of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the strongest, he said the strongest from amongst us is the one who controls himself when he is angry. The strongest of us. He didn't say it's not the weakest of us, the strongest of us. But he did not say not to get angry at those atrocities, because him himself used to get angry when something is wrong, when something goes against the law. And in the hadith it said that Imam Ali alayhi salam, he said Prophet never used to get angry over worldly matters. But when he did get angry for the sake of the truth, he was uncognizable and nothing could restrain his anger until he had triumphed in his way in the case for the truth. So here it is, Rasulullah, he was angered for the truth. He was not angered to hurt anyone. This is how we should be angered as well. When atrocities goes against the laws of Allah. And when we do become angry, we do not become angry in such a way that we lose ourselves. May Allah help us all. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal asina al-insana lafi khus. Illa alladhina amanu wa aminu salihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Wa ahwadahu walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wa sallallahu Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin.